This week on Red Dirt America, I talk with Jesse Dayton about his upcoming show at the historic Kessler Theater, about playing with folks like Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash, Rob Zombie, and even playing for a president.
You know, doing music with Rob Zombie for his movie, The Devil's Rejects. And then I did another one where I talked about playing the inaugural ball in Washington for the president.
I pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to real country music. This is Red Dirt America with Chuck Taylor.
I want to thank you for taking the time to do an interview. It's been a while since we've talked.
It has. I'm looking forward to coming back to Dallas and, you know, doing this historical Kessler Theater.
Yeah, it's you're going to be playing on Saturday, August 7th, and it is such a great venue, man. There are concert venues, and then there are listening rooms, and this is definitely a listening room.
Absolutely, man. I think the first time I played there, I was opening up for Ray Wally Hubbard, and so now we're headlining and pretty excited. I mean, the pre-sales are doing good. There's still some tickets left, so would encourage people to go online and get them. It's a Saturday night, August 7th.
Yeah, and you know, here's the thing. You know, concerts are starting to open back up again, and I think everybody here in Texas has missed them so much that they're flocking to just about every concert they can get to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame them. I'm doing the same thing. I mean, I've actually gone and seen people. You know how it is with musicians. We're always out playing. We're on the road. You know, we're like ships in the night.
Yeah.
And but this has been nice because I've been able to go see a bunch of my friends play, and just phenomenal.
So let's talk about the pandemic just a little bit, because you released an album in the middle of the pandemic, the Gulf Coast Sessions.
Yeah.
So how is that, releasing an album when you can't really tour to support it?
Well, that's why I released that record. I played all the instruments on that record except for a little accordion, a little fiddle. But it was something that kind of gave me something to do, and we didn't go at it full force. You know, the record before that had been like written up in Rolling Stone like four times.
Yeah, mixtape volume 1.
Yeah, and it did really good for us. So I told the label, I said, you know, let's don't kill ourselves promoting this, because I'm not going to be able to go out and support it with a tour. So we kind of knew what our expectations were, but oddly enough, because I made that record at a buddy's house on his back porch for $500, we did really well with that record.
Yeah, if you can make a record for $500, sell it for $5.99, $8.99, whatever it is on Amazon, you can make a good chunk of change.
Yeah, I mean, we really did, you know. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and we built up this cult following because we started getting emails for a newsletter like back in 19 Bobbity Boo, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so it did really well for us. And a buddy of mine had never engineered just one person. He'd always done live stuff. So I just said, hey, man, I'll pay for our food and our beer. And I think we ate $500 worth of food and beer.
There you go.
And that's what it cost to make the record.
Well, that's a bargain these days for an album, definitely. So anybody who's listening, if you have a band, this is the way to do an album. Just go to your buddy's back porch and do it there.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at all the great early hillbilly and blues records, they were all cut in houses and offices on 2-track recorders. I mean, good songs, it doesn't matter, you know, as long as you got good songs, man.
Yeah, I teach an audio production class, and we talk about the history of recording. It started out on 2 tracks with a single microphone, and everybody just gathered around that single microphone. And it wasn't until like the 60s, late 50s, early 60s, that they started adding more microphones and started separating things out.
Yeah, they didn't start doing that till later. And I mean, even the big band stuff only had like one or two mics, and it was all mono. So none of it was stereo. But yeah, man, you can make, I would encourage anyone who's a songwriter who's out there listening, just remember, all those folk records was one guy and one guitar, and they didn't have to split their songwriting share with the drummer or the roadie.
Yeah, never want to split with a roadie for sure. So you brought up when we talked about doing this interview, you brought up you've got a couple irons in the fire right now too.
Yeah, I mean, some great stuff happening. I don't know how many people, listeners out there, check me out online, but I'll do these rants from time to time online. And what happened was a friend of mine who was a literary agent in Los Angeles was going to dinner one night with this bigwig editor from New York. And he said, who I think would write a good book is this guy named Jesse Dayton. I follow him on Instagram and Facebook. And she goes, I know Jesse Dayton. And he goes, well, tell him to send me 3 chapters about whatever he wants to write about. So I sent him 3 chapters about me playing guitar for Waylon and meeting Johnny Cash and recording with him. And then I did another chapter about, doing music with Rob Zombie for his movie, The Devil's Rejects. And then I did another one where I talked about playing the inaugural ball in Washington for the president. So the guy called me back and said, hey, do you want a publishing deal? Do you want to write a book? And I was like, absolutely. And it happened right before the pandemic. So I wrote a 82,000 word book during the pandemic.
Wow.
And the advance that they gave me kind of helped keep me in the saddle, where I wasn't freaking out about playing shows. And so it's kind of become this new thing. And the book comes out through Hachette Publishing on November 9th. And I'm doing a companion record with it that's going to be songs from all of the people in the book that I write about. So I'll have a song from, Ray Price and Willie Nelson and Ryan Bingham and X and the Super Suckers and Rob Zombie and yeah, there's just a lot going on. A lot of stuff has happened to me while this pandemic thing's happened.
Well, I follow you on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all the places. And, they're right. You're such a great writer. Outspoken, yes. And, I admire the way you have the chutzpah, guts, whatever you want to call it, to call it as you see it, to be, and to speak the honest truth. And there's not a lot of people who do that these days, especially with us living in the age of fake news and false information.
Sure.
You're a truth speaker, and I love that about you.
Well, I am. I mean, I always tell the truth as much as I can when I'm, talking about current events or, whatever it is, sports, politics, music, culture. But, my thing is I try to follow my own truth, and I try not to feed into these teams because everybody's on a team now, and it's really that's what really gets musicians out of sorts is we're all kind of empaths, and it hurts our heart to see people that we'd all see at a Hank Jr. or a Guns N' Roses show or whatever, who would never care about each other's personal beliefs. And it hurts our heart to go, you guys don't agree on this, who cares, let's all go drink a beer and see the Stones.
Amen. I believe in that 100%. I could care less what anybody's politics was. Tell me what your favorite beer is. Tell me what your favorite movie is. Let's forget about politics and let's just be friends and be human beings.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a kind of apathetic approach, because you do have to choose sides in life, and you do have to stand for something, and I get all that, but everything has been so hyper politicized. It's kind of retarded, man. It's just, you know what I mean? It's like, it's hurting the human experience, which, no matter what religion, doesn't matter if you're, Jewish or Southern Baptist or Democrat or Republican or black or white or rich or poor, we're all kind of experiencing the same kind of head games and interior human experience, and
absolutely.
And that should be what it's about.
Definitely. Let me ask you this, Jesse. Looking back at your life, and you've had a multitude of experiences in your life. We've talked about it at length before. What do you consider your greatest achievement?
I don't know, man. I mean, I don't think I've done it yet.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I think the people who are still in it and still really working will always give you that answer. And I've been doing this for a long time, but, this agent in Los Angeles told me, he goes, the two guys that I see who still haven't done their great stuff is who are older, and I'm not as old as Ray Wiley, but he said Ray Wiley and Jesse Dayton. And that made me feel good because, I'm not living off of the songs that I wrote in the 90s.
Right.
I'm not, I got this new, I don't know if I told you, but I got this new offer to do this series with this amazing company that works with Netflix. So I'm going to be doing this new TV series, that's basically about vintage motorcycles and cooking and music.
See, that is perfect for you. You post pictures of your bikes all the time, and that's just perfect, man. You're the perfect host for something like that.
Yeah, so I really think, that there are things that I've done. But what am I the most proud of so far? Probably musically playing with Waylon Jennings was, it still blows my mind. I'll never be able to get my head wrapped around it. Or playing with Johnny Cash. What else? I don't know. Probably getting asked to go to Washington, or, making movies, or, writing songs for movies that helped me. I struggled for a long time, man. It's hard not being super mainstream or easy to put your, I'm not easy to put into a, marketable ring, if you will. And so I ate a lot of top ramen soup and lived in garage apartments and drove beater cars, and I did that for a really, really long time. It wasn't until 2007 till I did that Rob Zombie movie and really started making, be able to buy a house and buy some cool cars and have some money in the bank and not be freaking out if somebody gets pissed and doesn't like what you say on Facebook, or you know what I mean? So it's a long journey, and to me, it's just I get up and put on my tool belt every morning, man, and just work on music or work on whatever I'm doing.
Or work on yourself, too. I noticed you put a lot of stuff about keeping in shape and keeping healthy. So, you're doing all the work that you need to do, especially somebody who has a job that requires you to be as vigorous as your job does.
Yeah, and it started off being my own vanity, you know what I mean? You're like, oh my God, the entire audience has phones. But then, you get my age, and guys my age, see, we're the last ones who are pre-cell phone and pre-technology. I'm at that age where I grew up as a kid in the 70s. So, I grew up in Beaumont where we had 24-hour Cajun DJs, and we had we had, regional hits that didn't happen in the rest of the country. And I grew up eating, hunting and fishing and eating all that stuff. And that's all great and everything. But, if you continue to eat and drink like you did when you were 25, when you get in your 50s, you're just a walking time bomb.
Yeah, that describes me right now. I told my wife the other day, we just celebrated our 20th anniversary. And I was like, you know what? Wow. I'm sitting here at Double Nickels, and I am a little bit overweight. Well, a little bit more than I would like to be overweight. I need to start doing something. And every day that I say something like that, I look at some of the stuff you're doing, and I'm like, if Jesse can do this stuff, I can go and do this stuff too. I can get myself in shape.
If I can do it, I swear to God, anyone can, because I was the most undisciplined person in the world. And but I just went into my doctor's office one day, and he said, "Look, dude, I don't know what you're doing, but your cholesterol's crazy, your blood pressure's crazy, you're overweight." He's like, "You're going to be dead no matter a few years if you keep, staying up all night and drinking brown liquor and, eating steaks every day." So I just changed my life, man, because I didn't want all those old man drugs to just kind of keep me going, to where, you don't have to do anything. So I changed that day, and I started eating a lot more plant-based stuff. I still eat meat. You can actually do both, Chuck. Believe it or not, it's not one or the other. And I started, what I did was I did a fast, and I did it for like 2 weeks, and I took a lot of that boozy water weight off. And then I just started like going on hikes, and then eventually I would run a mile and walk half a mile, and then I would run 3. And now, it's part of what I do. And, I can keep up with the kiddos and, and you know what I mean? I don't look like I'm 50 going on 80.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And that's where I need to be, man. That's exactly where I need to be. So I look at your Facebook anytime I need inspiration.
Well, cool, man. That's great. And I don't rub it in people's faces, and I don't tell them ever what to eat or whatever. I just tell them, hey, if an old Cajun Bow Monster can get out there and change it, anybody can,
So let's recap for a minute. You've been writing a book during the pandemic.
Yeah, it's done. It's done. Would you add that onto the list of accomplishments that you're most proud of that we were talking about? Well, I mean, for me, the actual act of it was super intense, and it was a lot of work. I just had to wake up every morning and write. And luckily, I got a really smart editor who makes me come off, more refined than I actually am. But yeah, I'm proud of it, and I'm excited about following up. I might do the next one about for guys my age that are trying to change their health around. They're kind of wanting me to do that. So,
well, take my money.
Yeah.
I'm first in line, brother. Take my money.
Yeah, man. It's. But, there's a lot of good stuff happening. I'm excited to get back to Dallas. We haven't played there in a really long time. And I've had some really amazing, special things happen to me in that city. I mean, I've played with all of the local greats in Dallas. I've played with Reverend Horton Heat and Edie Brickell, and of course the old 97s. Me and Rhett Miller and all those guys are friends since we were kids, and so I've had a long history of playing in Dallas, and we're excited about this show on August 7th.
Yeah, we're excited about it too, man, because not only are you a good front man, you're one of the best damn guitar players in Texas music.
Well, thanks, man. Thank you so much. I spent a lot of, that 10,000 hours. I think I spent 100,000 hours, sitting around my parents' house playing the guitar. So, That's where it all comes from. There's luck involved, but it's mostly, a lot of just turning and burning, man.
Turning and burning. I like that phrase. I'm gonna steal that.
Do it.
So what is your Jesse? What's your guilty pleasure?
Well, my guilty pleasure is Irish whiskey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Irish. I drank hillbilly whiskey forever, and then I drank all Kentucky whiskey, and I love Blanton's, and I loved all the small batch stuff, and then we did our family genealogy, and I found out I had a bunch of Irish people in my family, and I only had one Cajun great grandmother, and everybody else were mix. And my brother said, "Hey man, you need to step up and drink the real stuff." So I would say that Irish whiskey is probably my guilty pleasure, and Mexican food.
All right, Irish whiskey and Mexican food, multicultural Jesse Dayton.
I'm all American, baby.
So, again, you're going to be playing over the Kessler on Saturday night, August 7th. And I have one last question to close out the interview.
Sure, man.
What song changed your life?
What song changed my life?
Yeah.
Well, you know what I think it is I think it was a Redheaded Stranger, and I'll tell you why.
Why?
Because when I was a kid, when I was a little kid, my grandparents and my parents all listened to Willie Nelson when he had short hair and he had a turtleneck, and long before he came this kind of outlaw, country guy who was playing at big rock and roll festivals with the Almonds and all that kind of stuff. And then we went to Colorado one year on vacation to get out of the devil's armpit called Texas in the summertime. And, like all good Texans, we go up to the mountains, and my dad put in this 8-track of Redheaded Stranger by Willie Nelson. And I was like, is this the same guy that my grandparents like? And I was just, I was probably like 8 or 9. And they're like, yeah, this is Willie Nelson. And I was like, wow, he didn't look like a country star. He looked like he looked like he played in the Almonds or ZZ Top or Charlie Daniels or one of those Southern rock bands. And I think that record really brought me back to the country that, I was force-fed as a child and was trying to get away from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I was just like, I've been a Willie Nelson. I've seen Willie Nelson more than I've seen anybody. And I've seen the Stones 23 times. So
wow.
I've seen Willie Nelson probably double that, and opened up for him 11 times.
Fantastic. Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, Willie Nelson, Redheaded Stranger, that record definitely changed my life.
Jesse Dayton, thank you for the time.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
Red Dirt America is my full-length interviews with some of my favorite Texas Red Dirt and Americana artists. If you like what you've heard, like us and subscribe to us, and come back for more every week. It's the Red Dirt America podcast. Find it wherever you find great podcasts.